How are you?
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Seven you are. Okay, welcome to the Finance Committee. It's Tuesday, January 9th. I am Joe Moore. I am joined by Alderman Tom Slottick and Alderman Dave Nennig, who is filling in for Alderman Tom Duane. Alderman Mark Stoyer is also excused today. And Alderperson Dorff is in the audience here as well. With that, I'll take a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Approval of the minutes from December 12th, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Item number 4 is consideration with possible action on a request by the city assessor to refund property taxes for Bank Mutual properties from 2015-2017 per mediated agreement. So we'll have to refer this one to staff and city assessor if needed.
Yes, I'm gonna,
Great.
if you have any questions, Russ is here to answer
Sure.
questions.
Sounds good. Mr. Schwan, are these in relation to the merger or the buyout that didn't Associated Bank purchase Bank Mutual?
Well, it's actually prior to. This wasn't in evidence because it was from 2015, so the merger would have occurred after all this took place. So it was something we tried to use to our advantage, but it didn't work that way. So we may have moved along quicker because of that, but there weren't any reasons on their behalf to push it. But we did get the chance to kind of combine them all together. Otherwise, they were going to try them as 3 different court cases. So we should save money by not going to court. That's why we did the mediated agreement. I think if you look at, the Exhibit F probably is probably the Reader's Digest version that best explains what we have to do on the bottom line, our portion of the refund. Actually, what happened was they were represented by a tax rep out of state that wouldn't provide any information, so we kept our value the same. They kept their options open, and second year they came back, same deal, didn't provide information, kept our value the same. Third year they had a new attorney, and by the time we got to mediation, they actually provided us some information, and that's when we ended up coming to an agreement. So, had they done that originally, we could have avoided all this, but they weren't interested at the time in doing that, so I'm not sure exactly why, but sometimes that's what happens in these cases.
So this mediated agreement has already been approved on their side.
Yes.
I move approval.
I'll second that. I do have one question. That money comes out of our tax adjustment account budget? Is that how it works?
Yes, and what we actually have to pay the money back in full. We have to refund the money in full, then we send this information to the state, and they'll determine whether or not the other taxing jurisdictions have to help pay that money back. And that determination, we would submit it in November of this year, the determination, and if we were gonna get money back, we would get back in February of 19. And yes, and the difference then comes out of taxing.
Are sufficient funds there to do that, or do we just run that account in the negative? Or what do
It would run the negative, well,
Yeah.
we do budget something for that account.
we do?
Right. We haven't had too much difficulty having the Department of Revenue agree with our settlements, so I don't think we've had any that have been denied yet, but there's always that possibility. But usually we're made whole over a period of a year or so.
Are these all locations that they're intending to keep open after?
No, actually, there are 2 locations. It's the one downtown here is going to be closed. There's the one on East Mason that's going to be closed, and then the West Mason Street is the one they're going to keep open.
Okay.
And that's only because the other 2 locations are in close proximity to the associated banks they already have in place.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to approve. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Schwan. Item number 5 is report of the purchasing manager. Request approval to purchase 33 Apple iPads, cultists, including warranty and carrying cases from Cellcom for $19,930.
In your packet was a sole source request that was submitted by the fire department. The iPads will be used by the fire inspectors and to record violations and take pictures and that type of thing. All of the devices are under the state contract through the cell carriers. The department considered GTAC, which we use some of their tablets, the Microsoft Pro tablets, and then the iPad. The iPad turns out to be the least expensive and also performed the best in the field tests that the fire department conducted. So we're recommending purchasing 33 iPads for a total cost of $19,930.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? I've got one question. Since this is sole source, I wonder if there's any additional room for negotiation on like the Apple Care, where, I mean, you can go to Best Buy and buy something Apple, and the Apple Care covers all of the Apple products that you have. If you've got a tablet, a laptop, your phone, where it might be, where, you know, maybe we can negotiate a little bit on the Apple Care and get, you know, 2-for-1 or something, or two devices covered.
I talked to Mr. Ronick and also Kurt Wise. I didn't ask them that particular question. They're the ones that verified what the pricing structure is and that it's somewhat fair traded, but we didn't talk about the Apple Care specifically. So I'll circle back with IT and see what their thoughts are on that.
It's only about a $1,600 savings, but it kind of all adds up if we get a 2-for-1 on the care package or something. But nope, I'm supportive of this as well. So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. If you wouldn't mind asking the question, though, that'd be great.
Yes, I will.
All right. Item 6, consideration with possible actions on a request from the police department for pre-approval to purchase a used Coast Guard boat when it becomes available for up to $40,000. The purchase price would be reimbursed through a DNR grant over a 5-year period with annual payments of $8,000. And I guess, staff, do you want this one, or should we send this one over to the chief right away?
We're gonna send this one right over to the chief.
And I'm going to send this one right over to Captain Kevin Work, who runs our dive unit.
You know, there's not a camera on the podium. You could come up.
Kevin runs our dive unit, so he's probably the best one to answer your questions.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so how do we arrive at the dollar amount of up to $40,000? Is that because that's the maximum DNR grant?
That's the acquisition cost that the U.S. Coast Guard puts on the boat when they put it on the government surplus site.
Okay.
So the U.S. Coast Guard's they're cycling out their old boats into new boats. And these old boats go on these government surplus sites for government agencies to say, yeah, I want that boat. But they put it's like 10% or 20% of the normal acquisition cost, because these boats between $225 and $250, they put it for the initial cost of $40.
And what do we currently have for a water fleet?
Well, we have a 2003 Zodiac with twin 250 motors, and that's I would say that's a problem in way too, because those are the original motors with probably 4,000 or 5,000 hours on each motor. But we take care of that like a baby, so we're trying to extend that as long as we can. The second boat we have is 1999 Pro line with 150. And that boat is just, we've outgrown that boat, and that boat is it's only 21 feet, I believe. Don't quote me on the number of the feet, but we don't take that boat out into the bay, because that boat cannot sustain rough waters. That boat, though it was good at the time because we didn't have a dive team when we initially purchased that boat, the dive team who we supplement on their trainings and call-outs, we can't use that boat because divers can't climb into that boat, just the way the hull design is. So that boat really is no use. It's a good backup boat if the Zodiac dies or breaks down. We have that, at least we can still maintain our patrols.
So the plan is to sell the small boat. When we get a big boat, we can use that to help offset the funds
Correct.
a little bit.
How long would we expect a used boat like this to last? Any idea?
I mean, the motors, that's the big $1 million question. The average motor, I would anticipate 6,000 hours. The good thing about the U.S. Coast Guard boats is we can be very selective on the boats that, when they come up on the site, and you know, they have two twin Honda 250s, and they both have 5,000 hours on the motors, we're probably not gonna want that boat, because that's like a money pit. So we're very selective. Now, there's been a few that have popped up on the site that had, you know, 1,000 hours. Now, that's the boat we want, because you got, you know, the life expectancy of that boat is gonna be great. And our marine unit probably puts on 300-400 hours a year. And that's why we've been able to extend the current Zodiac that we have for an extended period of time, which is our goal. Because if we had to replace both motors, that's gonna be $30,000. And we're not really prepared to do that.
And they come from any Coast Guard facility in the country?
Well, they get sent to like military bases.
Okay.
And we're not gonna be going out to California to get a boat. I mean, that's just not feasible. The boats that have posted on, the furthest one we saw, which was an 8-hour drive, was St. Louis. I really don't wanna go to St. Louis. You know, there's one in Sparta, but the ones that we were seeing were more towards between the Chicago and Milwaukee area. And it, just to go back to the $40,000, if we don't, you know, they get put on the government surplus site, and it's first come, first serve. So
Right.
the pre-approval is just say, yeah, we want that boat. So by the time we would seek approval, the boat would be gone.
From where will the initial $40,000 come?
In speaking with Richard Hannes, the business manager, the Marine unit has a budget. That budget is zeroed out every year, but according to Rick, he said that either that account would be $40,000 in the red for that year until the 8,000 in the 5-year depreciation, or he said that he would work with finance to determine if the contingency fund puts the $40,000 in there, and then we replace the $8,000 a year to the contingency fund.
So what's finance's view on that?
Go ahead, please.
It's seen as it is a grant, as part of the Harbor Patrol grant. I would book up a deferred receivable for the full amount, the 40,000, and then every year as we receive 8,000 over the 5 years, I just decrease it. But it would be the city upfront, you know, paying for that cost.
So our loss would basically just be 5 years or whatever interest accrual would have been. That's not gonna be a huge number.
Well, it sounds like a good deal, with the information that we got, so I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Could I just ask one question quickly about the smaller boat? That boat's paid for.
Correct.
It's just maintenance on it now.
Yes.
Is there value in keeping that in the fleet and having the smaller boat available for maybe East River or Fox River? Or
It very well could, yes. Then it just comes down to storage. South Bay and docking.
Right.
South Bay has given us a free slot every year. God bless their hearts. And maybe we just put that on a trailer and keep it a couple years to see if, you know, we do need it in the worst case scenario. But yes, to answer your question.
Okay. I just think with growing downtown, that's turning more toward the riverfront instead of away from the riverfront. It might be worth having something a little extra in the fleet without having a future cost. So if that's something we can hold on to, it may be worth doing that. But I guess we could evaluate that down the road. But
Fire has one boat, right?
Say again?
Yeah.
Fire has one fire.
One boat and one Zodiac, small,
Yeah.
very, very small.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and we have a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Great, thank you.
Thanks, sirs.
Item number 7 is requested by the safety manager to review and approve a resolution to continue the city being self-insured for its workers' compensation fund. All right,
Up again.
quite some two meetings.
And turning right over to Colleen.
Crazy.
So according to the Wisconsin Administrative Code, every 3 years, we have to tell the Department of Workforce Development whether or not we're gonna stay self-insured. And with that, because we're a governing body, we have to do a resolution with that. So I believe what was provided with you, for you was a resolution. And then what I had CIVMIC do is do a cost analysis. They're our third-party administrator right now for work comp on what it would be to be fully insured. So fully insured is the top line, and then our self-insured costs are the third line. So the city averages about $492,000 a year in savings being self-insured versus fully insured.
I move approval.
I'll second it. I do have one question. I noticed that we have to report all claims to the state of Wisconsin.
We have to do all the claims that are medically treated. So then that goes through CIVMIC to report that to the state. So about half of our injuries that are reported to the city actually have to be reported to the state. I'd say between 125 and 150 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. We have a motion and we have a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
And item number 8 is a report by the finance director.
Just want to let you know, we just went through an interim audit with our shake last week. Everything went fine, and we are just working on year-end to get ready for our full audit. That's it.
Awesome. Could I just ask, oh, I'm sorry, one question. Could I just ask when the item that was brought forward by Alderman Nenny regarding the League of Women Voters request on more voting time, do we know when that'll be coming back
It's
before?
on personnel's agenda. However,
Oh, it is, that's right.
Yeah.
However, I'm not sure, I just know that we were looking for, I know it affects the August election.
Right.
It really would have been a Joe's item to discuss
Snuck on us.
why he,
Right.
which agenda he's gonna put it on.
Yeah, they would like to appear before the personnel committee to discuss that issue, so.
Okay.
I'll talk.
I'll talk to Joe and we'll get it on.
I think it would make sense to have it after the February primary so we can see
Maybe so.
how that primary went, so we have something to
Sure.
actually discuss. maybe.
Sure.
But, okay. Anything further?
Nope.
Okay.
To receive and place on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and place on file the report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Awesome.
Move adjournment.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? We are adjourned. Thank you.